Welcome along, folks. I'm back with my friend, all-round guru, Dino McMenamin. And today's topic is this. No, seriously, mate, I got to talk to you. I talked to every man that comes on, which has been 99.9% of our guests so far. I'm like, what do you think about being a man in the modern world?
Has everyone had different answers? There's probably some kind of crossover, I'd imagine.
Yeah, there is. You sent me a book called The Way of Men.
The Way of Men. Did you read it?
Yeah. I read it a long time ago, to be fair.
I've read it.
Maybe you sent it 2 years ago.
Ever listened to him on podcast?
No, good.
Bedros Keuilian has got a good, is that how you pronounce it? Is it Keuilian? Bedros. He interviewed him on his podcast. It's a good conversation.
Didn't Bedros have like what was his boot camp called?
Yeah, there's a Fit Body Boot Camp.
Boot Camp.
By the way, there's one in Glasgow. I don't know if it's still there, but it was in the city centre.
He's a wealthy man.
He's done well. Aye. Apparently his Fit Body Boot Camp business grew during COVID. If you listen to his podcasts, him talking about that, it's quite impressive.
We grew quite a lot in COVID.
Yeah, we have online remote businesses, but I think he must have taken his business from in person and grew it online, adapted to that circumstance.
I always liked him. He always came across well to me. And they give a lot of value. I think in the modern marketplace, you've got to give value.
Yeah.
Give value to people. Try and be useful. A bit Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's like, one of his rules in it, be useful. You can just be useful to people. Is this useful? Am I being useful? Yes, but no, we've had, I'll be honest, I can't remember what we said in the previous episodes, really, about, how old are you?
Let's think about that. Coming on 38.
So you're coming on 38.
Yeah.
I'm 39. We've had Dave on, Daniel Davies, Matt Wilkes, obviously Ben, Arjuna. Yeah, we've had quite a cross-section of people, really. Mark, Ellis. I'm trying to think, I don't want to forget anyone. But in terms of men, it's got to be about it, isn't it? Yeah. Some different answers. Men feel it feels a bit of a challenging time to be a male.
As you know, I heard something recently that, at least our generation anyway, boys are taught how women should be treated, but no one's ever taught how men should be treated. Talk about equality.
Oh, he's gone straight in. I love it. Let's go. Come on, Dino. Keep coming on. I love this conversation.
We are taught how women should be treated or how men should treat women, but we don't ever hear about the opposite.
I suppose a female might argue, well, that's because
some might.
That's because
because maybe females were maybe a bit oppressed in the past.
Quite a lot, I suppose, back in the day.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I imagine. I'm not saying that's what I think, but I imagine if a female heard that, they might say, well, that's because men are treated well. Although, I don't know, I read something a while back about the, in younger couples now, boys are heavily affected by kind of mental abuse and stuff now.
Yeah.
Which maybe that wasn't the case a long time back. I don't know. I'm not an expert in these topics, so I won't pretend to be one. But I read that somewhere. It was quite a good source. It was like, more and more young boys are now affected by psychological abuse from girls. And so...
I think it would be... the generation younger than us might be relationships might be very different.
I'm pretty sure people would think I'm quite misogynistic, really, at times.
Oh, yeah.
What are you trying to say? His face. But I think I'm on that generation that's just on the edge. You're not. Mark's way too old, but we're just on the edge. Where all this new stuff came in, after my, generation. So I'm kind of on the cusp of a lot of stuff, a lot of changes in the gender sort of things that are now top of mind and all that sort of stuff. And the people like Andrew Tates and all these people have come up, and you're like, I'm kind of in that mix of age. And I don't know, it feels, I say this a lot when we talk about this, it feels like there's a change, life's changing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Me and my friend talk about this. It's like, my dad never picked me up from school, very rarely. My dad never did that. I can't remember my dad, like commonly every Wednesday, my dad picks me up from school. That wasn't a thing. He spent a lot of time. He was a good dad, took me to football and stuff. I'm not saying he's bad, but I think men's roles have changed significantly since the way I was raised.
For sure.
I think there's also, it is. It's just changing. And you think how you live will be you would have learned how to live off your dad. Really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
For the most part. So my reference of a man is my dad, probably. But that's going to be, and I've changed, I'm sure, many ways to him. But that's still not quite where the younger generations might be operating as a male.
Yeah, I think with the younger generations today have access to a lot more people, examples, scenarios, role models, with obviously the rise of the internet. They see a lot more. I'd imagine they get impressed a lot less as well. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so much exposure. Like when we were growing up, we would see, using like athletic performance as an example, remember going to a football match and you would see something incredible, like some great gameplay or a great athletic feat, and it just get that wow factor. But you see this stuff every day now.
Yeah.
On YouTube, on like reels. It gets less and less impressive. And the generations now, they're seeing so much of this stuff. So it does make you wonder, like how much is actually impressioned upon them.
Yeah. What do you find most challenging about being a man? I mean, I think that's in the modern world. Like, I think it's changed. I only talk about this because for me, I feel at war sometimes with this, hey, I probably should, I want to spend time with my kids and, pick them up and that. Then there's this like, but I got this purpose that I don't want to really sacrifice, and trying to find that balance, which I'm sure possibly if you talk to a female, for example, maybe they've always had that. I don't know. But from a male perspective, I don't think 20 years ago many males had that. I think the role was different in the household, I think, in my upbringing anyway. It was much less, it was much more, my dad was doing that and cracking on, and my mum was looking after us. My dad was playing his part, but nowhere near to the level that a modern dad would, I don't think.
But do you think instinctively, we should, even though roles have changed, we've learned to change? Do you think instinctively and by nature, we want to be out doing more work, a bit more driven, working on projects, those kind of things? I
think there has to be some kind of biological evolutionary driver in each of the sexes, a male and female, to do certain things. Yeah.
I think for me, there's been a challenge, and maybe it's not just with being a man, but also being entrepreneurial and being my own boss. There's been a challenge to be present quite a lot of times when with my kids or with part of the family, and not have those cogs ticking, and want to be away working on things and stuff all the time. It's been a big challenge, but
being present.
So it's something I've definitely improved on.
Yeah, I think so. I could see that even when we were talking more regularly, you'd improved on that. What's it like coming out of the military being a man, though? That's a certain type of man in the military, surely. Is it? Is it not? I don't know. I'm intrigued. What kind of chap is drawn to that?
So it's quite a competitive person, usually. Yeah. I think it's quite, especially infantry, it's quite a competitive environment. So you're surrounded by a lot of competitive people. We spoke largely about that earlier. Surrounded by winners. Largely. I mean, there are some people who kind of are just there for the ride. Would we consider
those more masculine traits?
Yes, for sure. when it comes to, because I think one key masculine trait that we have over females is that risk factor and wanting to take risks and living a risky, adventurous life. And that's not to say that there's not females, that there is.
I love the way we have to always.
We have to add that.
Some of you females love to do that as well.
We'll get hounded for being sexist or whatever. But in general, that is one of the masculine traits. It's taking risks. So you don't get much more risky than being at war and doing all the things that prepare you for war. So, aye, for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Being part of a gang as well. That's the thing. I think men are generally attracted to form gangs, and you see it more in deprived areas, social housing schemes. Gangs form, violence forms. There's always a us versus them mentality. We're tribal by nature.
It's mad. You'd see, if you were on the internet, you'd see like if you're on the internet, it comes across in many areas of the internet that masculinity is under attack there, isn't it? That's the narrative. You see, I don't know if you see that, but if I'm like, oh God, yeah, it's like, feel like masculinity is under attack. Andrew Tate gets everywhere, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's a lot I like about Andrew Tate.
Yeah, a lot of men will say that.
The unapologeticness, is that a word? Of like,
he's not
afraid to say what's on his mind and how he sees things. You have to admire that.
Well, I think the repressed, especially the people who feel repressed, especially admire that.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Because there's somebody standing up for what we...
Well, look at that bloke. Even if it's not the content of what he's saying, I think. Even if it's not the content, just the fucking hell, somebody's like saying what they think. I wish I could say what I think. They may not be thinking the same thing.
Without worrying about any backlash.
Yeah.
And that's another masculine trait, isn't it? It's courage.
Yeah. I think, and also if you look at male suicide, everyone's like, oh, it's because males don't talk or whatever. Maybe they just don't talk about the things they truly want to talk about. Whatever that is, that may be anything.
Is it because males don't talk?
Well, exactly. This is the narrative online.
Even if, talking's good, yeah, you might feel like a load off your shoulders, but I don't think the problem is because we don't talk.
What do you think the problem is?
I think isolation has a lot to do with it. Or not being challenged, not being accountable to other men, not being on like some kind of journey, not having some kind of purpose. There's an accumulation of things for sure.
That last sentence, I think, is...
Purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know all of it, but I like that last sentence. Have you ever read the work of David Data?
No.
It's the sexuality, the kind of intimacy, energy between masculine and feminine. He says that in his book, The Way of the Superior Man.
I've heard of the book. Yeah.
I always recommend everyone, men and women, to read it.
I'll read it.
It's brilliant because the title makes you suggest, a superior man, or over something. It's not that. He's a phenomenal mind. And he always talks about, you should never sacrifice your purpose for anyone.
No.
Not a feminine. If you're masculine has purpose and drive, the energy. You don't sacrifice that for anyone because it's like your feminine intimate relationship will know, and that will reduce your attractiveness.
Yep. And
you will know, and you'll build resentment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can think most people, if you're male or female, but even masculine females could probably go, oh shit, I do have a lot of more driven females.
Yeah, I think if you're over-compromising on your own purpose, your life mission, if you don't have your shit together, if you're not carrying yourself well through life, then you can become quite a resentful person towards other people. It can make you...
Yeah.
Yeah, it can make you very shitty towards other people. I know a few people like that.
Yeah. But we all get like that.
Yeah, and we all go through periods.
Yeah. But I think, when you talk about, say, male suicide, I think that lack of purpose or not following our purpose or that unlived life we sometimes feel we have can be a real...
We spoke about society quite a lot earlier as well, and the lack of helpful teachings in school. I think that's got a lot to do with it.
I don't know. My son's not really gone through the schooling system a great deal yet. But what we were talking about, taking the competition sometimes out of the winners and losers out, doesn't help, does it? If you're somebody, well, for example, you're somebody who's naturally driven and all of a sudden you can't win. That's probably not. Do you know what I mean? That's probably, they especially do it in physical things, don't they?
Yeah, because that's not getting channeled.
You can happily test a kid in maths and say, well, you didn't score very well and they score, you can see everyone else's scores.
I didn't score very well at all. In maths.
Nor did I particularly. But you're allowed to test somebody on that and put them in in some kind of place, aren't you? Really, a hierarchy of like we want you here and you're here. Can't do that physically though. Isn't that weird how we remove physical competition? But that's not. You might argue that's not competition. It's just measuring. But how can you measure? Why can't you measure physicality then? Why can't you say, look, we just did the bleep test and you finished last. I know you're 12, but you sort of shit out.
How does somebody get better if they're never exposed to that?
Well, you can't. If you, what I mean? How can you get better if you have nothing to measure?
Yeah.
How can you improve? What you measure improves.
I think it's good to feel bad. It's good to feel like good to feel like a loser.
Yeah, if you win everything, what do you ever learn? Nothing. So, masculinity can come under attack, can't it?
Can, for sure.
What do you like about Andrew Tate? Go on. I love it. Well, I want you to be honest about that, so I don't feel, but what, because he is a taboo subject, Andrew Tate, isn't he?
Yeah.
Smile.
I've seen some clips saying some things about women that you're like, I wouldn't say it. I think he says some really disrespectful things, but so in first experience with his clips, I didn't like him. And then, once you start watching something, you see more of it popping up on the internet. And I'm like, kind of like this guy. Maybe a little bit of values clash. Like, I know he made his money, a lot of his early money, through, what was it, like, nude webcams, that kind of thing. So it's a bit sleazy, but whatever. But I like the fact that he has the courage to speak in front of the world and say what's on his mind without any barriers, without any care of like the repercussions.
The expression.
That's a very admirable trait. A lot of men will like that. A lot of men will respect you for that, even if you've got some other views that you don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah. That's true. David Data talks about that, actually.
Yeah. I think we tend to drift towards, or me personally anyway, traits in other people that we want to see in ourselves. I think you find that very attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very often it's like shadow work 101. Very often the things that you find repulsive.
Speaking of which, one of the reasons I got working with you was obviously we knew each other before, but I wanted to get better at speaking, not necessarily public speaking, but presenting myself on live videos, those kind of things. And you were very good at that. You almost came across quite a natural at doing that whenever you were talking on video. I remember when Facebook Live first became a thing, and I was like, oh, fuck that. But you were on it. Every day I'm like, how'd you do it?
The alarming thing is...
And there's no like change in your demeanour from in person to
do you think I'm the same on camera as I am in person?
I think there's going to be some change, but you don't seem fazed by it.
You've met me in Glasgow though recently, sat having a bit of food.
It's a bit different, yeah, of course.
I imagine I'm a bit quiet.
We're having a person-to-person dialogue.
Yeah.
With no cameras. You're talking in front of a camera. It's a bit unnatural. There's some differences, but you didn't come across nervous at all in any videos I've ever seen you in. If I look back across a lot of my videos, I'm looking back on some of them like, what the fuck? Nervous wreck.
What I'm alarmed about though is the fact that you said, I thought I'd come to you because you'd be better at video, and I just went, yeah, you need to write more emails.
Yeah.
Forget the video.
I didn't come to work with you because I wanted to get better at video. That was one of...
That's a mad story.
I'm going back to like, that's one of the things that attracted me to you, or
appreciate it.
I admired you because of the confidence in which you projected yourself.
I appreciate that. I'm thinking about, it's mad how we met. Not how we met, mad how we got working together. Do you remember? I just messaged you.
You messaged me. I was already thinking about sending you a message.
Yeah, and I was just like, I hadn't spoke to you for years, really. And I just saw you pop up and doing things, and you were just on my mind. And for some reason, I said, mate, I just wanted to reach out and say hello, see if things are all right. I had this funny feeling something wasn't right. It was a weird thing.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm all right, mate. And you said, oh, do you want to catch up on a call, didn't you? And I was like, yeah, all right. So I was chatting away and you asked for some help. And I was like, just telling you.
You weren't pitching any services. It was me kind of pitching to you. Can you take me on?
Well, you didn't, because we were just like chatting away and you said, what would you do? And I was like, I'd probably look at this and this. And you're like, cool, yeah. And I was like, yeah, great catching up, mate. And you were like, so anyway, do you reckon I could work with you? I was like,
at the time, I'm not sure if it was a service you were offering to people. I never seen you offering that.
No.
But I was just like, obviously I seen you go from your boot camp business in person to taking your coaching business online. This is the kind of bridge that I was at the moment.
Yeah,
so
I remember.
For a while I was thinking, I wonder if Simon would fucking help me out with that.
Yeah, man.
I'll speak to Simon.
Mad. Yeah. But back to masculinity, because I want to keep talking about this. You said isolation is a killer. Big one.
Yeah.
Not speaking your truth. That sounds a bit cliched and corny. I said that truth bit, but I think not expressing yourself. I think I say this every time I talk about it, but very often people think it's men not expressing their sadness even. And actually people in general, they're not expressing their tears and their sadness. I think sometimes it's your resentments, your frustrations, your angers, your disappointments, your shames. It's like, maybe I need to talk about those things as well. Maybe I'm compromising myself in too many places. I also think, and maybe you can speak on this, I've known people who have took their life because of many factors, but through not being able to see their kids. It's the funny thing about being a man, isn't it? Generally, if you end a relationship, the kids aren't coming with you, are they?
Yeah.
They're just not coming.
It's exactly that. Some cases are definitely going to be harder than others. Me being in the military at the time, being broke, living in the overdrafts, having all the debt, couldn't leave the military. It's one thing that I wish I was in a better position to do. Even I loved the military. Loved it. But love my kids more. And if I was in a better position with money and more confidence in life after the military at the time, I might have left at that time so I can fight for, getting more access. And
because I think that affects a lot of men.
Yeah.
Down the line. I don't know if that's a thing, a rule in life. I don't know how it works.
No, for sure. My personal experience has really challenged my self-worth. I'm quite good at self-talk though.
You're a resilient guy, aren't you?
I'm quite good at self-talk, reassuring myself and getting myself back on track whenever I have a wobble. And wobbles aren't destructive wobbles. I don't mean like go and get on the drink for a weekend. I don't do anything like that. But sometimes it's almost like a chronic sadness. And you have to do some work to make sure that doesn't get you down.
I think that's why a lot of relationships stay together.
Because of the kids?
Yeah. And also because I think if you're a man and you think, well, I'm going to get out of it.
Yeah.
That's going to keep you there, isn't it? Yeah. We coach a lot of men and a lot of women, and relationships are one of the biggest. You're not coaching them on relationships. I'm far from a relationship expert. You're just getting themselves into a good spot and teaching them tools that they can work with their thoughts. But like you said, whatever the content of the thought is, you can work with it. You can move past it. You can, and I think a lot of it is, especially in men, you're like, me and my partner split up, and I'm not saying the woman's bad, by the way, because every instance got context as well. But very often, I'm not seeing my kids and as much. And God, it's fucking heart-wrenching from them. I'm not trying to poke you while you're in that situation, but no wonder they're sad and down, and maybe a fucking trip to the gym ain't going to cut it today.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I think in society, I don't know, is there some kind of cult thing where people generally go with the mum? I don't know, but that seems to play a massive impact on a lot of people, men you speak to. If they can't see their kids or only see them a couple of days a week, it can really break them.
Yeah, well, I'll give you one example. So I won't go into the reasons why.
Well, I wasn't asking you for example, but you feel free to carry on.
Removed access like multiple times. I don't want this to turn into like just having a moaning session.
You've got to be respectful, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because one thing I've never done, like in front of the kids, is badmouth their mum, call her any names, regardless to what's happened. I wish I could say the opposite was true. It's fucking not. But Yeah, so access removed. And what I used to do is every birthday, I would go and get the kids from school. Whatever kid's birthday it was, we'd go out for lunch and then back in before lunchtime was over. And I hadn't seen them in a bit. And I'm like, sod it. I'm going to contact the school. And the school were totally cool with it. So I went in and they actually got me both kids rather than just one. You know, they were quite helpful. So like, awesome. Took them down to get their lunch at McDonald's and then back in. The next day, I had sheriff officers at the door.
Yeah.
Handing me an interdict. Can't go near the school. Can't go near the street. Can't touch it until this court date came. I'm like, you're fucking joking. So if I did any of that, jail.
But you took them out and brought them back.
Yeah. I just took them out for lunch and back into school. That was that. Just to see them.
How long ago was that?
Oh, that was years ago. That was a good few years ago. They were really young in primary school. Both in high school now. And then there's been more issues since then. But there's been, for me, there was a lot of absence just with the job when they were really young, being in the military. And then when I was home more, even still in the military, just because I was medically downgraded with the hearing damage and stuff, I was at recruiting for a few years. So that was almost like a 9-to-5 job sometimes. So I got to see them a bit more, and then the access was removed multiple times. So that's having a big impact through their entire life.
Yeah.
One of the worst things for me is just worry for the kids, how that impacts them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to say.
Rather than from a selfish perspective, it's more about their development and how they're going to get on in life with the way that might impact them.
Presumably at some point, as they get older, they're 18, 19, they start choosing themselves.
That's the hope. They're teenagers just now, 17, 16, and recently haven't seen them again in a while. You know,
that is that lack of purpose thing we're talking about, isn't it? It's like how people go on long-term unemployment. Mm-hmm. Long-term unemployment is detrimental hugely to somebody's emotional set points, like their sadness, and depression, because it's that lack. You feel less than useful.
I think that's probably one of the most important things about being a man in the modern world, since that's the topic, is being able to carry your own weight. You know, first and foremost, we're expected to be providers, protectors, and all this kind of stuff, but we need to be able to have our own shit together. Can we get the bills paid? Do we have skills? Can we bring in?
And is that what we expect of ourselves, though, on times more than what maybe other people aren't looking at us expecting that?
It could be, but it's a requirement. Otherwise, how do you pay the bills? How do you get fed?
Well, your partner.
Yeah, that's not great, is it?
And then you feel.
Yeah, you're going to feel. You can feel worse about that situation, or you can use that to get motivated. And I'm not saying that we should never find ourselves in a position where we need to rely on someone to help us out of a hole. This is what relationships.
Isn't it funny that we're talking about this
all about?
And they were almost apologising for talking about it in a way. Right this second, we're almost, but that's what we do.
Because I know there's a lot of people in that situation.
Yeah, but also we're apologising from a sense of.
And who knows? 5 years down the line, we don't know what happens. Might be in that situation temporarily, but you need to. Of course, but you're not talking about what you think should happen. You're talking about kind of how it feels, this innate feeling. Because society doesn't say men should provide, I don't think. I think most women then, if they were in a relationship with a man, don't really, they say, I can provide for myself. That's not a problem. I can provide. That's kind of what I hear. I think it's inside of us. I think sometimes it's this innate, I don't know if innate's the right word, but it's like evolutionary. We're like, no, I am man. And people can try and tell you, well, but that's not how the world is now. And, you know, this, but I think inside we're trying to mentally excuse what we can't help but feel. Yeah.
Does that make any sense to you right now?
It does.
It's like we have to try and create these mental concepts in society and say, no, it's okay. And men don't need to do this. But a man sat there thinking, yeah, I know you're saying that, but I just feel. That's the word a man would use, and a woman about her issues. I feel.
Yeah, because we're not just logical creatures.
We think we're a brain on a stick, and the brain decides everything, but that's not true. information's flooding always. And there's this pull inside you. And I felt it about certain things. But say, oh no, that's, you know, and you think, no, it just feels like this is an almost hardwired into my fucking circuitry, into my soul, into my DNA, which says, no, this is, I feel like I should be able to do this. Maybe that's why it's so hard when kids are taken off, because you're like, no, there's some in me that says, no, I am the leader here. Oh, you don't have to be. That's no, we're all equal. Yeah, I get that. Brilliant. But something feels inside of me like, what's that? Will Ferrell, the other guys. There's a darkness inside of me and it wants to come out. It wants to get on trainers and walk around. Like sometimes I am all up for positive psychology. You know me. That's my background, but you can't always use the mind to override
your instincts,
an instinctual urge. And I think that's where we go wrong sometimes with sexuality. And it's like, maybe you just got to accept there are differences on a instinctive level between a feminine and a masculine person. Why do we have to make everybody the fucking same?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a difference inside that I'm finding hard to articulate, but it's a feeling, it's a pull to provide, to do this, to be important, to be valuable, to have a mission. Why do we have to go, no, we're all the same? Maybe there's more of a pull in a more feminine sexuality to care and nurture. That's what most people would say when it comes to the feminine, masculine energies.
Your kids are really young. Do you ever get babysitters?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, female, yeah.
You're not going to get... You're not going to ask a guy to come in. It's at least not going to be the first person on your mind.
Well, it's the difference between my mum and dad as well. My mum, who loves coming to look after the kids, and my dad's like, for fuck's sake, what time are you going to be back? I'll be back at 4:30. Well, don't you be fucking late. It's like, God, Jesus, and he loves it when he's there, but he's not exactly driven to go and care for them.
Yeah.
You know, he's winding my little boy up. My mum's like cuddling him to death. Like, you know what I mean? That's an insight into my upbringing, but I think, I don't know, when I look at people talk about this subject sometimes, I think you're trying to treat us all as one robot, one same thing.
Yeah.
And we're trying to mentally talk away things that possibly are not in the language of thought. It's in the language of...
Yeah. I was on the phone to my mate earlier, a couple of weeks ago. I was going around to see him. But I forgot he was away with work. I was like, all right, I was just round the corner. I was going to pop up and see. And he said, oh, well, Charlotte's in. You can still pop up anyway. He was joking. We laughed. And I'm good friends with his missus as well, kind of grew up together. But that would be weird. Do you know what I mean? That would be weird if I did just pop up and say, what's happening?
I was waiting for where the story was going to go, Dean. Did you go?
So, I mean, there are instinctual differences. Did I say that right? Instinctual differences.
We always look at Mark like he's Susie Dent in the corner, but he's not. He's not.
Mark's a good observer. We were chatting before, and he was having some input when you were up at the toilet. No. Mark takes note.
Take note. He's running through that instinctual. Yes, correct. That is a fact. Well done. We fact checked your words. But I just think sometimes like you said, we use all logic and we take out these things that we're struggling to explain. And maybe you can't explain why a masculine person, in our case, man, maybe we can't explain why we feel like that because it's just wired in. And maybe we don't have to explain it. No. But I've read The Way of the Superior Man again recently. And I read it and it hits me differently as an older man than it did at 30. It hits me differently with 2 kids. You're like, it hits me differently. I hear what he's saying on a much more profound level.
Your priorities change a lot.
I'm like...
Your experiences change a lot. Your perspective on things change a lot.
I think kids changes you, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden you feel a sense of responsibility that you've not had. You feel a need to provide a good environment, I think, and to try and help and guide somehow to make sure that they're safe and happy. Like, you know, all this stuff, you're like, I've never really thought about this stuff before. It's just been me, really. And here I am thinking about these things. Or if you have a business, you know, your own business, you think, well, you know, I want this to last, or, you know, it can no longer, possibly you think it can't afford to fail. It can, but you don't feel like it can, you know?
Yeah.
So I think the conversations I see online to keep to this topic in my own thinking now are possibly too on the psychological level, possibly, and less on the energetic kind of instinctual level. A lot of it doesn't feel right to me. So
can you elaborate on that? Like the instinctive, energetic level, what do you think that men need? The topic was how to be a man in the modern world. Is that how we started? But what's good for a man in the modern world?
I think
what do you think are the needs?
Well, I think to start with, probably not labeling. Every man's different, aren't they? And I think it's probably less men and more, I think more energetically. I mean, you can be a more feminine male. You can be a more masculine male. So where you sit on that spectrum, you know, that's important. I think if I look at men as a cross-section I deal with, possibly carry some shame.
Yeah.
Carry some guilt. Learning to make peace with that. Probably learning to honor our drive and purpose to build things. I think men like building things, from my experience of being a man. So maybe allow yourself to do that. I think
we're not talking DIY, are we? Because like you can leave me out of the conversation.
not DIY. I mean, build something, whatever it is to you. I mean, just
I know what you mean.
Have a mission. I think most people have a mission. It doesn't, you know, that kind of thing. Get to know yourself. Get to figure out how you communicate. How, you know, how do you feel loved? I think that's important. I think every male, most males, you just want a bit of love, like everyone on the planet. Got to let that in. Got to figure out how you communicate.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really talk about that sort of stuff, but I'm more of a lover than a, you know, I'm old romantic. Not as in love, like relationships love, but you know, you got to get into your soul a little bit. I'm waffling on now, but there's loads of things. And I think if you're looking at the conversation is always about behaviors and action. What's toxic masculinity? That's all I hear about now is toxic masculinity. And what is that? I Googled it. No one really could tell me necessarily what it was, or
maybe ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, maybe ask someone. Yeah. It's like, what's toxic masculinity? I don't know, but it's talked about. The problem with young boys is this. The problem with men is this. It's like, I don't think we got a fucking problem with us. I think, yeah, you know, society is changing. People's roles are changing.
Yeah, exactly.
Identities are changing in males. Females' identities are changing. Maybe the average female's happier with how their identity is evolving. Maybe the average male, I'm just surmising, is less happy with how our identity is evolving.
I seen something recently about the top 10 films for men. Like they were rated, the top films, and they were all very violent films. Yeah. So like The Godfather, Gladiator, things that just represented war and glory and all that shit. And at least in Western society, there's anything like that in real life. So do you think possibly like we all need to have outlets where we get to be physically challenged?
Yeah, I think everyone on the planet would.
Physically challenged, taking risks, bit of adventure. For me personally, that's all important. Yeah. If I'm not getting that, if I'm not getting really physically, mentally challenged,
I think the best thing anyone could do for anyone's life, if you're male or female, stop telling me what I should be. I just think that is the best thing we could all do.
That's a great point.
Just stop telling me if I should fucking like this or that. As long as I'm not abusively endangering somebody, just leave me alone. Let me be who I want to be. Let me be who I am. Everyone's different. Maybe there's some more, there's some more feminine men who want to stay at home or do something or more nurturing. Crack on, mate. Do your thing. Some men aren't like that. Some women aren't like that. And we just have this idea of what we should be and how we should be happy. But I think unless you really tune in and listen to yourself, you're just guessing. Yes, we've all got biological needs, like look after yourself, hydrate, eat some food, lift some weights, fucking good for everybody. Look after your money, play a part of purpose in life. But I think people just want to tell people who we should be. I don't like this toxic masculinity thing because people hear that and then go, oh, I'm too much, masculinity is bad, don't they? That's what you hear if you don't really think about it. That's dangerous.
Do you think it's a thing?
Well, let me tell you something.
What makes it toxic?
I don't know. But it's usually said by somebody who has had a bad experience of a male. And so now they're charged, they have an issue with males. So they see every male through that lens and it's all bad. Mm-hmm. You can argue whatever you want, right? I'll have people tell me what boys should and shouldn't be and what girls should and shouldn't be. My little boy went to a birthday party, right? Boys and girls. There was a bouncy castle and there was crafts.
There was what?
Crafty stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
And there was a bouncy castle, right? Where did the boys go and where did the girls go?
Boys going to go to the bouncy castle.
And what were they doing on the bouncy castle, do you think?
Backflips, smashing into each other, wrestling.
What were the girls doing?
Fun stuff. Crafts?
Yeah, of course they were. Now, that's because they've been, conditioned. Or maybe, but my boy's 4. I don't know how much conditioning he's got at this point. Maybe he was just driven to go wrestle. Oh, but you shouldn't say that. Boys should be boys. It's like that leads to toxic behavior. He's just going to do it. And they just went and did that. Or should we argue all that's wrong? Now, if there was a girl on the bouncy castle smashing into everyone and doing her thing, I'd probably be like, oh, great. And if there's a boy over there having his face painted, who gives a monkeys? But there's so many people in the world who are like, no. That's learnt behavior. So, oh yeah, I've got a bouncy castle at home in my living room and every day we jump on it and fucking wrestle. It does my head in when people talk about it like that. I'm getting all passionate. I can see Mark smiling behind his computer screen. But I just look at life. I'm just a very person who goes, oh, right, what is the reality of this situation? There it is. Oh, that shouldn't be like that. It's like me saying it shouldn't be fucking raining out there. I mean, it's not, but it is, isn't it?
It's quite nice today.
It's nice today, which is such a rarity. But I think that argument, I think a lot of the issues we have is why you shouldn't be like that. I mean, look at them. They're wrestling. That's going to teach them, bad habits when they're older, isn't it? It's like, is it? What about that one over there crying? I think you just fell over.
And you think adult males can get quite conflicted
of who we should be,
of how we should be behaving.
Yeah.
How we should feel. What we should be interested in and what we shouldn't. Certain traits that we have, we know about ourselves, we can feel bad about them. This is the whole problem,
and we have just summarized it beautifully, I think.
Yeah.
What you said there. We feel bad about all these things that maybe we just feel that are just from inside, and we try and use this to convince us what it should and shouldn't be. I would never, ever, as far as I'm aware, try and tell a female what she should want to do, how she should feel, how she should operate. I would never try and tell another man that.
Yeah.
But as a society, we have these ideas that we can tell certain sexes how and should, what they should and shouldn't be. And unfortunately, if I'm going to stay on my soapbox, which I will, we talk about competitive nature. We live in a society where if you say this, you're hammered down, but I'm going to put myself up as a pretty reasonable, intellectual, articulate person, if I don't say so myself. But everyone's offended by everything. Not everyone, but you could see that quite comfortably. People joke about that.
Yeah.
But we're trying to keep it so nobody's feelings are hurt all the time. So whereas you can just display who you are, and that can be hurtful to somebody. And I'm not saying you're hurting them. I'm not saying you're being abusive.
You're not trying to be
you're
a
just
dick,
very being can offend somebody else.
Yeah.
Now, who the fuck is the problem in that situation?
You're learning to suppress yourself, aren't you?
So I have to be like this for you to be okay. Well, how does life operate that way? It can't, but that's what we do. We say, well, no, you very much showing up like that is making me feel this. Well, As long as I'm not abusing you in any way, I think maybe you need to figure that shit out. Or should I figure it out for you? What about you? I hate to tell you, but I'm just doing some actions. You here? Well, you're offending me by being like that. Oh God, we're both offending each other. What are we going to do? Oh, do you know, but you being like that's offending them over there, is it? Yeah. Oh God, well, I better change it. Oh, let's all change. Let's all just be different. It's got out of hand where you cannot, it's gone from like, oh, that's abusive. Fair enough. Cut that out to just who you are is not right. Yeah. Now that message, whether people mean to portray that message, I think online or whether they're meaning to say that or not, doesn't matter. That's how it's being received, isn't it? For a lot of people on the masculine side of things that I speak to. Yeah,
and it's going to cause a lot of anxiety. and listen, it's probably quite a dangerous thing. A guy compressing all that. How do we find that outlet then?
People go shoot up the supermarket, don't they?
Yeah. Drugs.
Not to make light of that.
Drugs or booze.
Yeah, you just you take it out on that bloke on the motorway. You cut in front of you.
You suppress something long enough, it's going to find ways to come out.
Always. It will always come out, even if you know it or not. And I think there's a difference between suppression and repression. One's conscious and one's unconscious. So psychologically, you unconsciously you can suppress what you don't want to see, or consciously you can. It's one or the other, I can't think which way around it is, but the other is me consciously keeping it back. Like I know that and I'm going to press it down.
Yeah.
And I think everyone does a mixture of both. But I think the more you tell somebody who they shouldn't be, what they shouldn't feel, how they shouldn't speak, what they shouldn't say, I would never raise somebody that way.
I think that's all got worse with the rise of social media. There's more people in your world, so you're going to be exposed to more opinions, and the more than what we're naturally supposed to experience. Jack Donovan talked about that a lot in his book. How like we're only really capable of having a certain number of people within our world at any one time, like who we would consider close and familiar. And you go through life entering and leaving different circles, but we can't really retain familiarity and relationships. 150. Is it 100? That rings a bell, 150. Yeah. Good round number, sounds
150, yeah, because right. Communities, they say.
Yeah, and then there's even less. And he uses like fire sections in the military. You get a fire section, you get a section, you get a platoon. So it starts to become closer and closer. Your fire section is like your closest tight-knit group. Then you get your section, then you get your platoon, then you've got your company. And then beyond company level and a regiment, that's when it starts to become more us versus them. And you can get us versus them within a company, within a platoon, but it's more...
Sorry, mate, I panicked.
Beyond that 150 number.
I thought you had to get a drink. Sorry, I was like, fuck, it's 4:30. But it's not. I just panicked. You're middle section. Mark probably saw that on camera. I was like, he's got to go. He's got to go to Scotland. No, so as you were saying...
Yeah, there's only so many people that we can retain and get like, are supposed to get real feedback from. But now we're all hyper connected, and there's so many people that can. If for example, if you put a post on social media and it's a controversial post, or you're just sharing your feelings on something, you could get feedback from so many different people who are like quite largely out with that circle, and even if people within that 150 or 100 or 50 had a strongly different opinion from you, they might not give you shit because you're one of the 150. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you're going to be exposed to so much.
Internet's a funny thing. Like you make a post, people, yes, I agree, or no, people love to. And I've always said, like in the team, and I've had stick in this in the past. I'm like, it makes no odds to me if people agree. I don't mean that like from an arrogant, disrespectful point of view, but it's like, no, I put that out there because that's what I think.
Well, we've had to develop a tolerance to that.
Yeah,
and especially the early days of running Facebook ads.
I still get it now. I get like I said, scam, con artist. You're like, just some random bloke. And people go, does that bother you? You're like, what, some random bloke commenting at 2 a.m. that I'm a con artist? Now, I've got some bigger fish to fry in my life than fucking Steve from Darlington. You know,
I've had a few guys who start commenting on all of my stuff.
I've had that as well.
Like, and it's like they're just going all over the place.
Yeah, I'd
ads,
block 'em.
posts, videos, and not just saying scam, but leaving essays. Do you know who this guy is?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
But they've come across something in an ad or a post somewhere that's offended them somehow.
Isn't it funny how you don't say anything offensive? And I don't think I particularly say anything offensive. I'm not somebody who comes out and says, right, I'm really going to make a strong statement here. This is probably the most offensive podcast I've ever done for some people, isn't it?
Is it?
And it's pretty lame.
You think so?
On the offensive.
Let them decide that.
What's that?
Let them decide that.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. But you know, I don't talk about it much. I'm not like, oh, you are... You know, some people in my space are like, you're fucking letting your family down if you like. I can see how somebody might go, I'm like, you know, but I'm just like, hey, you know, drink some water. Fuck you. Okay. You know, you should train your skills. Fuck your skills. Okay. Fucking fuck my skills. Like, I'm not saying anything bad. And nor are you? I read your content.
Some guy had a real gripe with me for charging people money to help them get in shape.
Oh, here we go.
He was coming after me. The guy, he established lots of conversations within the comment section with different people. And I've spent some time reading through it all. There was a lot. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, what the fuck's with this? He's got too much time on his hands. Guy admitted to struggling with his weight and stuff. And I'm like, why is he wasting time here? Fucking giving shit to me. He should be out there getting his steps in. Fucking do some exercise.
It's that shadow element of what we don't like in ourselves.
Yeah.
We often attack as well in other people. You know, if someone's saying, oh, look at me, I'm great, and you don't like the fact you're going to attack that. It's a funny old concept. It's a wonderful mirror, social media, when you think about it. I like it when somebody will comment on, like, rip off. It's free. It's fuck free. It's free. It's free 5 days. I feel like saying you that stupid you can't read, but I just can't be bothered with that engagement. I'm like, oh, I got better things to say. Imagine that. I couldn't catch up on talking to our clients today. Why not? Because I was having an argument with some bloke on Facebook about whether my free challenge was a rip-off. So I couldn't respond to my inbox. I mean, how pathetic would that be? But you have to wonder what sort of... I like it when people go, actually, I've done this and it's really good. Oh, you must be a mug. It's like, it's only one mug here, mate.
Tell you what.
You might want to have a look at it.
Paul gets a lot of shit and comments on his Cliff video.
But
fucking hell.
He does. And Mark produced that. But that is you can understand. I can't understand it. But I can kind of understand why someone comments because it's an emotive subject. It's about kids and suicide. So you can see that would trigger a response in me. But you telling somebody to eat their vegetables, like it's not the same, is it? I can see that because it's like, oh, I was talking about some, like when we were talking about the kids, you could see you were quite emotional talking about that.
Yeah.
If I put up if you saw a video of me every day talking about that topic and you were a bit more unhinged slightly, you might go, fuck you, mate, mightn't you? Paul gets some really unfair stuff in fairness. You know? Yeah. Well, I don't follow Paul, but I used to see it a lot. Or see him talk about it. You're like...
Paul, he always screenshots them.
Oh, right. But he's dealing with males.
So he makes it entertaining, doesn't he? Obviously, it doesn't get to him. His screenshots on, they'll share them so everyone can see.
I won't speak for him, but I imagine if you are sharing, it has to get to you eventually. If you're sharing it and making a point of it, I imagine that's but transmutation. It's like, I'm going to take this thing that's really annoying me and make it useful.
Make it something else.
Which is good, I think. It's a good way of doing it. I haven't got the time or energy to do it. Can't be asked. Yeah,
because then you've got to engage with all the attention that post gets. And
oh, you do amazing things, don't worry. Yeah. So I wasn't really saying that. I did that post the other day, scammed, I just wrote about it, thinking, oh my God, this is who it aimed for. And people, it was really nice. You know, oh, you do great, don't worry about it. And I didn't want to say, I'm not worried about it. Because I was kind of using it as a bit of an angle to say,
content.
This person is not going to enjoy the 5 days, but this person will.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to engage that kind of thing in my life because it just becomes a thing.
Can take a lot of energy.
It's like your health, isn't it? I really struggled with my health, and I got quite anxious about my health. You know, I told you, like, I was like, God, they can't find anything wrong with me, but they're like, there's something wrong with you, but we don't know what it is, unfortunately. And then you're like, God, every pain became maybe I've got a heart attack, maybe I've got a brain tumor, maybe, like, I became so anxious. And I think the more attention I would give those sort of things, I think the more prominent it might come in my life. I just haven't got time for it.
Yeah.
I've got better things to do.
But it's the unknown. When we have something so impactful negatively, we could probably make it worse because we're thinking about all the negative. We're probably thinking about all the worst possible outcomes. If I get cancer, is there something fucking eating away at me that I don't know about?
It's just over significance. You're giving too much significance to an ache or a pain, or too much significance to those comments. They become a big part of your day. I'd rather give significance to the things that really matter to me.
And you know, going back on that, when I was, well, I'm still working with Charmaine on the autoimmune issues, but we seem to be on the way up. Like all the blood markers are getting better and stuff, especially the really important ones like the thyroid antibodies and some of the hormonal things. And I think, and this is just a feeling, I have no data to back this up, but I think one of the things that's largely responsible for things projecting in the right direction is once I saw some of the markers improving, because it took a while, but once I knew there was some budge psychologically, it's like I flipped a switch and I'm like, I'm back on track. We know about the placebo effect and how powerful that can be in healing, recovery from things. Like, I think that's had a big impact on me as well.
Yeah, I'd agree. When my bloods came back good last time, I felt the next immediate impact. But they'd probably been good for about, you think about it, they'd probably been good for a couple of months before that. But as soon as I had that psychological...
When your attention's on problems and there's worry, and you're putting more worry to the problems, it's almost like you feel there's still problems. You can still feel a bit stuck.
You're keeping it going. Well, mate, we're 58 minutes in. I know you've got to catch a train. I don't want to keep you because we've got to record some promo videos, but...
Sure do.
I've had a blast. I've had a blast talking to you. I could talk to you all day.
Yeah, I think we should probably do another one. There's probably some more stuff we could do.
Do another one?
Yeah, later. I don't mean take a 15-minute break.
I was going to say, fuck me. He's like, forget the train. I'm back at that premiere in the metropolis of Doncaster. No, it's been a pleasure, mate. I've enjoyed it, and we definitely get you back on. We'll definitely do some stuff. Come back next year, 100%. Make that trip down from sunny Glasgow down to sunny Doncaster.
Anytime.
Safe for the border for you. But I appreciate it. It's been a blast. I've picked up loads myself, man. I've just enjoyed the conversation. So, yeah. See you soon.
See you soon.
Good one.